Hey y'all, and welcome back to Granola and Grits Homestead. It's been a while. There have been a lot of changes over the last few months, and I want to tell you all about them. But first, I want to tell you a story about how we got started and how we got to where we are. So, if you don't mind having a seat and grabbing a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and just going along on this little journey with me. In 2011, we planted our first garden. It was April 2nd, and we planted everything. We had no clue what we were doing. YouTube was still very young, Pinterest hadn't started off yet, and Instagram was still in its infancy. The idea of homesteading content creators wasn't even on the radar, really. And when I say we planted everything, I mean we planted everything. We planted tomatoes, we planted melons. And then we realized that some of those things really need very hot weather, which Arkansas has plenty of in June. And not so much in April. And we also had our storm season, which we didn't really take into account. And so there were a couple of occasions where we were out there digging trenches in downpours to keep the garden from flooding. But then that year, Arkansas set a record for the hottest day, and we ended up having very little rain. We had bugs, drought, scorching heat. It was a lot for the baby gardener. But when we harvested and ate our first meal, the spark ignited. We were in love, and we instantly began to dream of all the ways that the next year's garden could be better. But then I got pregnant with our first baby, and my husband got a promotion that would send us all the way to New Jersey, the Garden State. But as luck would have it, our first home in New Jersey had no yard for a garden. So I dreamed. Our second home came with a great yard, and our landlord was very supportive of us putting in a garden. So that spring, as soon as the ground thawed, we tilled the perimeter of the yard and put in a little kitchen garden. And then quickly discovered that the black walnuts that towered overhead would never let us reap a harvest. What little did grow got eaten by the groundhogs. But dream I continued. We found out we were pregnant with baby number 2, and my husband got another promotion. And this time we could actually buy a house. But New Jersey is an expensive state, so getting a large property wasn't in the cards, and we settled into our home on 0.18 acres and built 3 8x4 garden beds and grew a small kitchen garden, and it did beautifully. Then we had baby number 3, and I became a stay-at-home mom, which meant that I had 3 small children at home with me all the time. And the years of bitter New Jersey winters were starting to take its toll on me. So one snow-frosted day in January, I went to a local greenhouse. I needed to feel the promise of summer. I needed to smell life and touch it. I was so inspired by what I saw that I went and bought a backyard homesteading book. 3 hours later, I stood in the kitchen and I said, "Hey, what do you think about getting bees?" And my husband said, "Let's do it." Then I realized that our town had, at some point, decided to allow chickens, so we started preparing to build a chicken coop. At this point, I was consuming whatever information I could get my hands on, and I stumbled across a YouTuber. You may know her, Roots and Refuge Farm. And at the time, she was homesteading in Arkansas, so I felt a very strong connection to her. Watching her videos gave me a connection to home, and I was feeling very homesick at that point. And then I saw her garden, and I was immediately Twitter-pated. From her, I learned how to start seeds, which opened up a whole new world for me. And we began to expand our garden little by little each year. We grew and canned and built this little corner of sustainability that became priceless when the pandemic came and uncertainty and fear gripped the world. But I still dreamed for bigger. Then, Christmas before last, I sent a wish into the universe, asking for a bigger homestead. And this was such a pie in the sky wish that I felt ridiculous for even thinking it. So imagine my surprise when just 3 weeks later, my husband got tapped for another promotion and an out-of-state move to Delaware. And in a very surreal twist of fate, we actually found a few acres without having to fight through this tumultuous real estate market. And just a few months ago, we said goodbye to our beloved suburban homestead and sent it with love to its new owner as we embarked on the challenge of building our new homestead from the ground up. We do hope you will join us on this dream. And believe me when I say I'm still going to keep dreaming big. But we hope that you will stick around as we begin to build our new homestead. And I think that we might be due for a name change. So I would love to hear your suggestions on what you think our new name should be, if you want to put those down in the comments. So here's some footage of getting our homestead started and built. We're getting the garden in. We've got our chicken coop built. But we are still working on finishing the rest of it's like a barn type thing, so that we can have our grow out coop for our baby chicks and a goat barn, because we will have goats, and at some point we're going to have pigs as well. And we're so excited to be able to do a lot of the things that we have not been able to do at our last property. So thank you so much for listening to this story. I can't wait to share the rest of our journey with you, and y'all have a good one. I love y'all.